Hey guys, I want to show you how we prepare the Parmesan cheese for the house salad. Now, although we're calling it Parmesan cheese, it's actually a mixture of all of the leftover pieces of hard cheese that we use on the pizza line. And that includes the Parmesan, the Romano, and the Manchego. So the reason we have leftover cheese, of course, is because the cheese comes on it with a rind attached to it. And as we use the microplane to grate the cheese onto the pizza, we get closer and closer to that rind, and it gets harder and harder to get usable cheese off of it. So instead, we use these pieces and we cut it off with a knife, put it into the food processor to pulse it, and what we end up with is this nice little crumble that we can put right onto the house salad. It's a combination of all of those cheeses. So let's get started. So I've had the guys on the pizza line save these pieces until I get enough to make, let's say, a 9-pan or so of cheese for the salad line. And now what I want to do is I want to cut off the rind. Now, what is the rind exactly? If you recall from the video that we did on cheese making, you'll remember that the whole block is just a block of the curd, but it's been dunked in salt water, and the outside begins to turn. It begins to turn from cheese into this harder, waxier substance. So here you can see they've actually put some stamps on the outside. And it's sort of hard to tell exactly, where the rind ends and the cheese begins. It's a little bit subjective. But you can see there's generally a change in the color. You can see there's a color line here. It's just something that you have to get used to. You have to get a little practice. What part of this is too hard to use, what part's too waxy, and what part is still cheese. So that just takes a little bit of experience. But try and get, of course, as much cheese out of it as possible, since we don't want to waste. So I'm just going to cut into this, and I'm just going to pull off whatever pieces that I can. Sometimes it's actually useful to sort of curve my knife into it and get what's on the inside there a little bit. I'm digging out some pieces here. And I'm just pulling out whatever's usable. Okay, and that's about all I'm going to get out of this piece. You can see the rest of this really is a different color and is a little waxier. Put that one there. Now the next one's similar. Okay. Great. Get a little more out of that. That's about it for that one. This one has just a tiny piece of rind at the end. It's cut off. Okay, and that's it for these pieces. These other pieces are really just fresh cheese. They don't have rind on them, but I didn't have enough to fill up my par of this 9-pan, so I just pulled whole other chunks. Now what I'm going to do with all these cheeses is I'm going to cut them into small pieces, and I'm going to put them in the RoboCube, the food processor. If I left them whole like this, they wouldn't really grind up properly. So you want to get a decent crumble on this just with your knife. Until you have experience with this, kind of err on the side of cutting it a little smaller. But you'll get some experience with your particular food processor. It's probably a food processor dependent size. That's just about right. Alrighty. Now I'm going to take this cheese and I'm going to go ahead and put it in my RoboCube. Now one issue that you might have is sometimes this comes back from the dishwasher with a little bit of moisture in it. You really want to make sure you wipe down any of that moisture. The cheese and the moisture are just not going to work well together. It's going to get gummy. It's going to stick to the blade, stick to the pan. It's not going to grind properly. These little bits off the board I'm just putting right into the 9-pan. Pretty much crumbled already. Alrighty. Now I'm going to go ahead and start my processor. Okay, there's no no need to pulse really. I just want to stop in the middle to sort of show you what it looks like. This is probably 3/4 done. Let's do one more little round here. Okay, this would actually be acceptable. I'm going to go a little bit more, but it's pretty close. Okay, I'd say that's just about it. See that texture there? That can go just another little second. Okay, now we're definitely done. So I'm just, see how easy this was? I'm just going to lift this up. Rather than put it in the 9-pan, which might be a little messy coming out of here, I'm going to dump the whole thing into a bowl. Get my fingers in here and get out any extra little cheese. Wipe off my blade. Now I did a real good job of making sure that the food processor was dry, and so this is pretty easy right now. If it was wet, this would be a lot more difficult. And here's the final product. Just going to take that, put that right into a 9-pan, and we're done. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.